Welcome. WAEA is proud to present Jennifer Griffith and Indigenous, Giving Thanks in Indigenous Knowledge Systems. And we are so excited to hear what you have to share with us today. Passing it over to you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. It's always so good to be here in a space with you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And for right now, let's see if I can view it. Well, I was out of my main screen before, and it looks like, of course, now it's not. So I'll just do this. Hi, thanks for coming. It's kind of small. This was a quickly planned virtual workshop based on a conversation that I had with a parent in a school, elementary school. And I'm in Spokane. I'm a university professor at Eastern Washington University in the art and education department. And my history is about 20 years in K through 12 curriculum and teaching. And so I just wanted to basically kind of talk about that conversation and then where we went from there. And so that conversation was based on a problem that a letter was sent out to from the music teacher to a group of students that was not culturally responsive in any way. And it kind of shined light on what's being done in the schools to teach culturally responsive education. And in my particular strength, that is Indigenous knowledge system. So I was asked for that information. And that's kind of what I put together. And I thought it was really good information to share for classroom teachers and just in general, how to go forward in life with a more collective understanding. So the focus today is going to be on the Thanksgiving prayer of the Audinassini Confederation. And one thing I want to add about that is that it is the oldest confederation in government. It's 650 years old of any other organized government in the world. And one of those reasons that I've learned through my education and awareness is because the strengths of each person in the community are honored, and those strengths then are their job, and then the other strengths are honored. So kind of like how we feel sometimes, we've just got so much going on and we're trying to fill all of these different places and we're filling them with a little bit less detail just to get them done. That's kind of what they've avoided in their government, and to honor that. And so I wanted to explain through the video and through their words what this is. So we'll watch a quick video.
Frida, could you tell me about the Thanksgiving address?
The Thanksgiving address is a tradition amongst the Haudenosaunee where we give thanks to all those parts of creation that do their duty each day. And we begin with all the people on earth, all those that are close to us and all our community and all those people. And then we give thanks to Mother Earth, because she's still providing for us. And then we give thanks to the waters. And we give thanks to all the bird life, the trees, all the winds, Grandmother Moon, the sun, and right up into the stars. So we give thanks to all those parts of creation. And it's done before and after every gathering that we have.
So is it a prayer?
It's not a prayer. It's a simple thanksgiving. It's not something where we're worshiping those parts of creation. It's where we're giving thanks to them. And they can receive that thanks, because all parts of creation have spirit that can accept that thanksgiving.
Do you know when it began?
At the beginning of time, when the twins made and created so many things on earth, Creator came down and appreciated what they had done and he asked them what they wanted. And the good twin said, I just want to go for a walk. And he went for a walk, and he just looked at everything that was here, and he came back so thankful. And he told the Creator, I just want to be thankful. So right at the beginning of time, it was given to us as humans the duty to express our thanksgiving.
Is it an oral tradition or was it written down?
It's our oral tradition. It's been passed down for many, many years. And it's never the same each time it's done. I know here at our school, kids learn pretty much the same one, but when one of the men are asked to do a Thanksgiving address, they're going to hand you, they will do whatever they want. They can talk about any part of the creation. And there's lots of things you can say while you're appreciating them. So they could talk a while about the trees. They could talk a while and say a lot about the bird life that happens to be here now. And sometimes that kind of hand you can be 45 minutes to an hour and a half long. Depends on how they feel that day and how much they want to say.
Can kids give the Thanksgiving address?
Oh, yes. And as I referred to before, the kids here at Onondaga Nation School learn in their language class how to give the Thanksgiving address in Onondaga. And I know in Tuscarora they learn how to give the Thanksgiving address in Tuscarora, and the Mohawks learn in Mohawk. So yes, children do learn and do the Kanahanyu and give the Thanksgiving address.
How is the Thanksgiving address used today?
Here at Onondaga, it's used at any large gathering. We have it here at school, and it's at any kind of social dance where we're having a social dance for somebody's birthday. Someone will open and close with a Thanksgiving, and the chiefs, when they meet, will have an opening and a closing and give their Thanksgiving address before and after their meeting. And if there was a wedding, there'd be a Thanksgiving address, beginning and the end of that. So it's all through our culture, and it happens all over today and amongst Haudenosaunee territory.
All right. So we're actually going to start today with the first part of the Thanksgiving address.
It's very important for humanity to reconnect.
Actually done with that. So just to give you a really just a quick background, Jake Swamp was the leader of the tracking project, and the tracking project we'll go over a little bit later on in the presentation in the workshop. But this was actually shared for children to read and for all people to read in a voice, to come out to speak in the voice of others. In my research, awareness, and education of Indigenous knowledge and Indigenous knowledge systems and talking with tribal members, I've learned that speaking in the words of a tribal member often gives the best thanksgiving to what I have to offer in education and awareness. So what I'll say is, in the words of Jake Swamp and the Adonisani Thanksgiving address, the greetings to the natural world, the people, today we have gathered and we see that the cycles of life continue. We have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. So now we bring our minds together as one, and we give greetings and thanks to each other as people. Now our minds are one. The Earth Mother. We are all thankful to our Earth Mother, the Earth, for she gives us all that we need for life. She supports our feet as we walk about upon her. It gives us joy that she continues to care for us as she has from the beginning of time. To our Mother, we send greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one. The waters. We give thanks to all the waters of the world for quenching our thirst and providing us with strength. Water is life. We know its power in many forms. Waterfalls and rain, mists and streams, rivers and oceans. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the spirit of water. Now our minds are one. The fish. We turn our minds to all the fish life in the water. They were instructed to cleanse and purify the water. They also give themselves to us as food. We are grateful that we can still find pure water. So we turn now to the fish and send our greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one. So that's the first part of the Thanksgiving address that we'll read. And then this is also printed in books that you can purchase from the Tracking Project. They're $9.99, and they also have illustrations and cards. How I practice this in my classes is throughout actually, if you start in August or September at the beginning of the school year, and you do each greeting once a week, that actually leads you to Thanksgiving week, all of them. So at the very end, when we do the very end one, the closing words and then the Thanksgiving to the Creator, I'm actually starting that in my class on Tuesday. And so my students have received this Thanksgiving address throughout the whole quarter. And we have had conversations about it. And what I say when I start this address is I say, in the words of Jake Swamp and the Tracking Project, I am saying the Thanksgiving address and greetings to the natural world. And so that is one way to indigenize Thanksgiving, is to start coming from an education and awareness from tribal members' words and feelings. Also, so that's one resource. And then another resource is the Bioneers Indigenizing Thanksgiving. And this is just a website that I found decolonizing. And a lot of times when I choose a resource to share with other teachers or community members, it's because I feel like it's the best awareness and education and representation for what that giving thanks prayer supports. So there's different ways that you can pursue information on your own, and also educational resources. I do want to let you know that on the USDAC.US Native Land, there's an Honor Native Land virtual resource pack. And there's a great set of desktop over here. There's a great set of virtual backgrounds that you can have on your screen to start a meeting, to start a classroom, anytime that you can give that visual representation to honor Native land, honor Native air, water, and land rights. That is a really helpful place. So those are, this is great. I'm 4 minutes off my schedule. That's okay. I can check my time. So as we begin to learn and educate, we begin to understand that each choice we make is part of a bigger collective. And if you make the choices best for yourself, it's impossible to not add to the good of the collective. And so that is one of an Indigenous knowledge system basis, that if we are making those choices that we feel good about for the betterment of ourselves and our students, and say even the school culture, then if you make that choice for the goodness, that's what that means. It will be good for others. Even if I think what I'm trying to say is, a lot of times I wonder if what I'm doing is good or right for other people, or if I'm saying the right thing, or if I'm doing it. But if I know I feel it's good to me, then I know it's good for others. So let's just go over 3 ways that you can bring Indigenous knowledge into your classrooms. And then I'm going to actually give you a lesson plan with the standards and how that works. And then we'll kind of go into some closings. So one of the ways that I designed this is to be able to give it to admin. For those of you that weren't able to attend the conference, we had an amazing keynote speaker, Mike Windy Mitchell. And he talked about red light and green light admins. And when he said that, I just really connected with that, because I've met red light admins that aren't willing to let you go into the school culture with your artistic ideas and creative ideas for inclusiveness. And then I've met and I've had green light admins where that's really their focus. And so 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 when I said seek out information about how to get information in all classrooms, do you have a green light admin or do you have a red light admin? When you give your ideas to your admin, do they support it, or do they kind of say, email me maybe next year, or maybe for next year or next semester? You can kind of get a feel for it. So one of the ways that I found to be a simple way, and also not very expensive, is to buy a small book of the Thanksgiving address and have it in each classroom and read it in the month of November to the end on the first day of break. So you can do a different timeline. Like I said, I do it weekly for each one, but you could have it be in the time of the giving of thanks, when this is a mainstream misnomer and mainstream differences in belief systems. So we read the beginning of the poem. We'll read the end of the poem at the end. And I think that what I've noticed throughout my education and awareness is that this comment, share the words of the ancestors, there's no need to come up with our own, has a lot to do with the conversations we've been having with WAEA and land acknowledgements, and how Washington State, and the reason that it's important to me is because I moved from Montana to Washington State, and I was really excited when I found the commitment of the state to acknowledge the land that all people were living on at the time, and to coincide that with the words of ancestors and our relations. And so we found that we were trying to come up with a way that white Europeans can respect and share the words. And so we're at a little bit of a juncture or a crossroads of creativity. And this is just a plug. We will be starting our JEDI, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion meetings next in 2025 quarterly. And that will be another way to talk about how we can share the words of the ancestors to support giving of thanks, and to support the state mandate, which is to honor our ancestors and relations on this land. So there's two links here: the Tracking Project teacher resources. This is to purchase the book and Thanksgiving note cards if you wanted to give those out. That's all just awareness and education and advocacy, right? It's all just kind of figuring that out. The Wild Side is a possible resource for local activism. There is a Wild Side in Seattle. They're currently seeking board members, but their website's pretty active, and their national chapter of Wild Side, and that's where Art is Life comes in to connect and emphasize Indigenous knowledge. And we'll talk about what that is. The lessons of nature and the power of dreams and art. So that's one way to begin to decolonize Thanksgiving in our school systems. The second way is to seek out a speaker to come to an assembly at your school. I am advocating for Matika Wilbur in Project 562. She spent 10 years photographing all 562 recognized nations and was the keynote speaker at the OSPI Migrant End Conference. And she has 5 qualifications. And what does that mean? It means that as a tribal member, she's not going to do the cultural competency work for you and your organization. So I did add those. If you are interested in Matika coming to your district, maybe your museum, maybe any of your places that you have for awareness and advocacy for Indigenous knowledge, I please ask her to come. She's amazing, and she has great educational curriculum to share. So one thing to ask your organization: do you have a land acknowledgement? And that is fluid, right? It flows. We're working with ours right now. So maybe it's in process or it's changed. That's fine. You're aware of it. You're paying attention to it. Do you have any Indigenous teachers You may not know it. I think that's the thing, that we are so facade in our society, of we have imposters, or they don't look like they have the characteristics of a tribal member. And so that's when you need to reach out to your community and have conversations. And then we don't need to, but it's one way to do that. I get excited and get forceful. You don't need to do anything. You get to have an opportunity to share awareness and advocacy, and ask if you have any Indigenous teachers. Do you have any Indigenous studies program or curriculum? Time immemorial is a stamp mandate, but it doesn't have standards, and it also doesn't have accountability. So as we all know, that libraries are kind of restructuring into digital media specialists. Those qualifications and curriculum standards are kind of up to the hands of the classroom teacher. And so I made it really easy for you. If you'd like, you can get an approved National Education Association curriculum for free. You can click there, and if you have an educational institution over 100 or more, the NEA will print it for you and send it to you. And even if you cannot get Matika to come to speak, this resource is just a great to have in your room to rely on. Just a really quick insert: when you are planning your lesson plans and you're doing your coursework and all of those things, if you have this curriculum kind of at your hands, you can integrate or do interdisciplinary work in your classroom or with that. So do you have funding scholarships for Indigenous students, and are you doing outreach to Indigenous students? And then the third thing was to find a community slogan for buy-in, like transform, indigenize, and decolonize. And my favorite way to do that is to share stories. And so I just wanted to share with you all one thing that I did in Montana that I would love. It's a little note down here. So education trunks. Let's see if it'll work. So let's go there. Hockaday Art Museum in Kalispell, Montana. We built these education trunks, and they're from plains to plateau, artistic traditions of Northwest Montana tribes. It introduces to the artistry and culture of the Montana Indian tribes. Inside there are jewelry, dolls, parfleche. I mean, just amazing things, and lots of books. And so we don't have education trunks in the state of Washington. However, we always can be hopeful that we'll get some, because I would love to find funding to make these and do that. So that's an idea, and I'm just a generator of ideas all the time. I wanted to share my favorite author and illustrator. You may recognize him from some of his books, but he is just a dynamic storyteller of the traditions of Indigenous belief systems and stories. So one of my favorite is The Girl Who Loved Wild Horses. The art is gorgeous. The way that you can talk about illustration, you can talk about pattern, you can talk about so many things in visual art standards that go in with this artist. And so I just wanted to share that artist with you. So before we move into the lesson, I want to talk about working towards an Indigenous knowledge for children. And so this is where we're going to talk a little bit about Indigenous knowledge and how it's different from, how I feel it's different in education. So, and especially for children, because I think when we are adults, we've gone through these stereotypes and stigmas, and we've already gone through the system that's taught us what we need to know. So working towards an Indigenous knowledge for children is one based on a millennia of observations. So Indigenous knowledge is, say, for example, well, I can tell you a story really quick. I was in Montana on a cattle drive. My dad gave it to me for a graduation present. And one of the cowboys said, you can go on your own just for a little bit. So me and my horse went in the middle of nowhere for a while and ended up in a trench filled with bones about a mile wide. And I actually wanted to show a picture of that, but I didn't get a chance to put it on my presentation. But I was just floored. I was like, I don't understand. What is this? It was very methodical. It was very even. It was a buffalo jump. And I had found one in the middle of nowhere that is now protected. So I had been there before anyone else found it, I guess. Not me, but you know what I mean. So anyway, I didn't know what it was, and there was this observation of knowledge, and to gain the sustainable food that they needed, they would chase the buffalo off of the cliff, and the buffalo would die. And there was this one cliff they always used, always, for hundreds of years. And so this millennia of observation helped understand what a buffalo jump was. So the second one is temporal and place-based. So this is connection to land and place through subsistence practice. This is a story I heard actually from Matika, and it was a story of a culture of people named after the water on the Colorado River, and the water was dammed. And this was the way that this group of people gained their manhood. The boys, from boys to men, would train for years to cross the Colorado River. The river was their food. It sustained their living. It was temporal and place-based. And when the river dried up, the needs of that culture completely had to change. And so that's what it means to have a connection to land and place through subsistent practice. So over hundreds of years, this place had given them sustainability. And then when that was taken away, that was no longer their place of identity, which is the ceratography, which is losing that place of identity. So number 3 is living, and that's pretty basic. I'm not talking about living. I'm talking about surviving and thriving. I'm talking about learning about ways to not just get through life, but to flow and have that survive and thrive. So you know what you need. It's an indigenous knowledge system based on knowing what the body needs to survive and thrive. Kinship-based is number 4. Reciprocity and nurturance. So that's what kinship-based is, that the reciprocity of the people in the community are understanding and nurturing of the needs of everyone in that community. And then number 5 is holistic. So this is the kind of the organization by relationships of spiritual fulfillment. So this is kind of covered as a whole for spirituality, knowledge of ecology, medicine. Oftentimes in an indigenous knowledge system, if an animal was hurt, humans would follow that animal to look and see what that animal ate to get better. And so that is an indigenous knowledge system based on a millennia of observations. And then we learned what plants given to us through the giving of thanks prayer can provide us with our health and sustainability to live and thrive. So there's 3 understandings of indigenous knowledge systems. There's epistemology, ways of knowing; ontology, understanding of nature, human existence and being; and then axiology, values, value, judgment, and ethics. And so what does that mean when you're putting it all together? It's information to have, to be able to have more confidence to share what you know. Because when we don't know things, we won't talk about them. For example, if this workshop was on physics and its relationship to gravity, I don't know if everyone who's here would have showed up, because they're not looking to get more information to feel more confident on how to do that. So, it looks like I am kind of on track here. And I wanted to bring the Indigenous knowledge systems into a lesson plan, and I chose micro and macronutrients. And we're about 37 minutes into the video. So I'm going to stop right now and say a random word for my students, which is succotash. So we're going to learn about succotash. We're going to kind of just talk about process. So I'm actually going to pull up really quick the studio habits. So if you guys can all see these are the studio habits that I use in my classroom really consistently. I fall back on them. I apply them to my standards. And so I know that I'm giving you some different standards from family and consumer sciences, but Indigenous knowledge is interdisciplinary. So I feel like I felt like that was the best way to approach it. So then you can learn interdisciplinary. And I just want to do a really quick educational piece since it is a workshop.
Hey, Jennifer, real quick, I hate to interrupt. Um, we can't see the tab that you've opened because it's not in the tabs that you've shared. So
Oh,
just
thank
in
you.
case you're
Okay.
wanting to reference that, you might need to reshare to share that tab.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so back to the educational piece. Interdisciplinary education is combining the interdisciplinary pieces of education in all aspects of education. So that would be problem solving, 21st century skills, all core subjects, SEL, PESB, all of those things are interdisciplinary. And then integration in the arts is fine arts. So the work in education with theater, dance, and all of that. So I feel that these studio habits apply to everything. It doesn't matter if you're interdisciplinary or if you're integrating. These are ways to develop your craft, engage and persist, envision, express, observe, reflect, stretch and explore, and understand other art worlds. And just a reminder that they're not hierarchical. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my other screen if I can do this. I think I can. And then we'll kind of start into growing a Three Sisters garden. So what is a Three Sisters garden? And how does it have to do with Indigenous knowledge? So basically, let's just kind of go what we're going to do. We're going to talk about evaluating nutritional needs of individuals and families in relation to health and wellness across the lifespan. And that, if we go back to our 5 working towards Indigenous knowledge with living, and then based on a millennia of observations. I also feel like it's kinship based because it's the benefit of the community and the reciprocity. So if someone's not doing well, they're all not doing well. If someone's doing well, they're all doing well. And it's a beautiful thing to have a community like that, to all want everyone to succeed. So analyzing the effect of nutrients on health, appearance, and peak performance. So again, if you wanted to kind of move this into different visual art standards, you can apply maybe even fibers, and you could use corn husks. My image on the left here is a paper cut and a print. So you could do some drawings. And I think that wellness can come in very many different places. And as educators, we all know that how to apply those standards to the one that fits best for our lesson. So vocabulary, of course, is also really important. And it is a part of Indigenous knowledge system. Domesticate is to grow a plant for human use. Legume is a type of plant with seeds that grow in long cases called pods. Maize is an Indigenous tribal Native American name for corn. Squash is a type of vegetable such as pumpkin. And sweet corn is a kind of corn that contains a lot of sugar. And symbiotic is the relationship between two different kinds of living things that live together and depend on each other. So this lesson plan is designed for a 3-week unit, 50-minute classes, and 4 days a week on Indigenous knowledge systems and sustainable health, nutrition, and well-being. And so basically, you can identify 6 main nutrient groups, explain functions for the main nutrients, recall basic nutrient information as presented in class, reasoning targets, and discussing behaviors that improve or reduce personal health. And then I just would like to add some art pieces to this too. So identifying 6 main nutrient groups. An art idea would be a mind map. Putting those main nutrient groups inside and then figuring out the functions. Another idea would be to, you could have some sort of, well, I don't have another idea right now. That just came up. So let's go ahead and move on. And then I just want to kind of talk about what the Indigenous knowledge system is that we're learning about. So eating corn, beans, and squash together is a dish that's come together to be known as succotash. So I have Becky and Alice. Have you all ever had succotash? You can just do a thumbs up if you want, or you don't have to. It doesn't really matter. But if you are here and you'd like to let me know that you have had succotash, it's delicious with lots of butter too. But it enhances the nutritional benefits of each. So together, the complementary amino acids of the 3 sisters form complete proteins, eliminating the need for meat in the diet. So why is this important in the traditional in Indigenous knowledge systems? Of course, when meat may not be available, then the sustainability of the human is still available. So traditional white corn contains a slow-release carbohydrate that is known to help prevent and regulate diabetes. How was that figured out in Indigenous knowledge systems? Through temporal and place-based and description of observations. So basically, when grown together, so today's more popular yellow corn lacks that piece. And so when grown together, the 3 sisters fare better and are better for the environment. The story, and this is where you can, I didn't actually put the story in here, but the story of the 3 sisters garden is different in different places, but it is based on 3 sisters of humans and how each one passed, and then one of the stories is that one passed, and then the other one of her sadness passed, and then the other one, and together they each now are the 3 sisters garden in a basket. So together they yield up to 20% more produce while using a smaller plot of land that requires less water and less fertilizer. So what I love is the process. The corn stalk is the trellis for the beans. The bacteria that grows on the bean feeds on the sugar from the corn's roots. It converts it to nitrogen in the air and then into a form the plants can use, releasing the nitrogen into the soil and providing fertilizer for the corn and the squash. So the squash's vines' wide leaves shade the soil, preventing erosion and weed growth and retaining moisture. Together they yield up to, well, we already read that. So, and then I actually have how to plant a 3 sisters garden is in here in the explanation. And then I just want to kind of read what I wrote because I feel like this is how I connected it to education. And this is kind of the lesson that I want to give to the teachers and the people listening, is that you don't have to plant a traditional 3 sisters garden. You can use a bushel basket or a similar large container. In a lightweight soil mix, plant 2 or 3 corn seeds in the center of the container, leaving 6 inches between them. When the corn plants are 6 inches high, plant 3 or 4 bean seeds and 2 pumpkin seeds between the corn plants and the edge of the container. Leave about 2 inches between the seeds and the edge and water it at least once a week. And treat with fertilizer or compost to provide adequate nitrogen. Beans don't provide enough nitrogen until after the first year when their roots break down into the soil. To pollinate the corn, remove the tassel at the top of the corn plant and shake it vigorously over the silks of the ears, and do this as soon as the tassel emerges. Otherwise, the pollen may be blown away in the wind. During moments of introspection, I often reflect on the fact that my leadership and personal accomplishments are not based on my talent or education, but on calling and planting of sorts. I believe that I've been planted in the community where I serve, and in my existence needs to inspire growth, offer protection from unwanted elements, and offer opportunities to nurture. If at any time this thinking turns out to be unhelpful or ceases to inspire growth to others in this community, I need to revisit my place in the garden. For many of us, such moments of reflection can create disequilibrium in our minds, but will inevitably contribute to our personal and professional health. The Three Sisters Garden offers a great lesson for those of us who teach, serve, and lead students every day. I guarantee you that almost every day that you show up to your schools and offices, you have an opportunity to be beans, corn, or squash to someone. Don't miss the opportunity. My radical empathy quote: radical empathy is the willingness to stand in the gap for and intentionally contribute to the growth of those who look different, grow different, and offer a different nutritional or other value to society. I gave some ideas of what you can do to talk to students, have conversations, understand the significance of the Three Sisters and Native cultures, discuss similarities in different versions of the Three Sisters legend. And then I just want to talk a little bit about discussing oral story over the written word. You'll find that a lot of books and illustrations for children are written from a perspective not from the 5 Indigenous knowledges for children, which is, again, based on the millennia of observations, temporal and place, living, kinship, and holistic. And so truly telling that story, if you're sharing those stories from other words of tribal members, it's important. It's usually there. And I think it's important to kind of look at what you're sharing with children and look at those 5 characteristics, and then talk about, if we're telling the story and then the written word, if it gets written down, does it seem more concrete and you can't change it? But the oral story has kind of that empathy, kind of has that a different way of being heard. And I think there's a lot of knowledge to be had, meaning there's a lot of information that you can gain as people, as other humans here to be better in the world, that are coming to the workshop. You can look at these different ways to talk to others, and once you learn more, then you can say more. And so I think also you can share how your experiences. I think that's the biggest thing. I won't go back to those studio habits because I got to share my screen again and it might get a little funky, but those studio habits can really kind of like understanding other art worlds. And so the cultural significance of Three Sisters and Native culture, how that's represented, can be a point of conversation. I've noticed that I just want to share something that's not in my presentation, but I don't know if you're aware of ledger drawings. But ledger art, where I live, George Flett is a really well-known ledger artist. He's passed, I believe, in 2013. And he was a self-taught artist. And just in art knowledge, when the Europeans came in, and the buffalo and the canvas of the native plains tribal members was taken away from them, they didn't have anything to draw on. And so they didn't have any canvas. And so when they would go to the trading posts, they would trade their goods for whatever the canvas was. And at the time, it was ledger paper from bankers that they didn't need anymore. And so it got to be a really popular transition. What I think is even more important, well, the cultural significance of that was not only was the canvas of their art taken away, but the sustainability of their culture was taken away because their food and their all of the pieces of an animal that is used was also taken away. And so what happened is commodities came in and the government said, we'll take care of you and we'll give you food. And so the sustainability of that culture radically changed because the nutrients were so much not sustainable to that culture. And so when I say discuss healthy eating right here, there's a point of storytelling, there's a point of standards, there's a point of culture and a point of humanity that is in that. And I think going back, and I won't scroll back up too, but going back to living, surviving, and thriving. So going back to that Indigenous knowledge system, the system of what do we have to live and what do we have to survive and thrive. All right, so I am at the end of kind of my presentation. So before I move on, I guess I'll just ask if there's any questions or anything anybody wants to share about their knowledge of Indigenous knowledge systems or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I've been doing some stretching because my back's really hurting, but I just wanted to share this. Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
There's a little pack
Oh.
of seeds that were packaged together with the legend, the information on the back, and so that you can use it, with the children or at home or whatever. But I just really wanted to share that. So I also wanted to show I have one of the little Thanksgiving address books. Yeah,
I'm
so I
so glad, Alice.
so appreciate all the knowledge and all these tremendous practical resources you've been sharing with only just a few of us and dedicating your time to passing all this on. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right. Hi, I think it's Dr. Renee down there. Hi. You're kind of I don't see everybody, but hi. All right. So thank you so much for sharing, Alice, and you go back to stretching. It's a pretty a cool little book. And I just happened, everything's pretty organic, right? How things kind of flow. And I came upon the tracking project organically. And so I was very blessed when I found that, and it just was helpful to add to that to more knowledge. I wanted to just give you another resource of kind of a structure of those tracking projects that Alice showed too is also translated in the Cherokee language. And so that's another way just to add to kind of standards and lesson plans and teaching and Indigenous knowledge systems is I forgot what I was going to say. That's okay. I had a thought and then it went. But so basically, I just wanted to kind of use this as an idea for that. The website that I wanted to go over, I just wanted to kind of show Jake Terranen Swamp. And he is his words that I share. in The Roots of Peace. And he had I just want to read right down here that whatever one does in life, it is essential to leave things better than when they were found, to take into consideration the effect of one's actions on the seventh generation into the future. Throughout this wonderful life, Tara Nonkinkin abided by this principle. Through his books, his words, and his actions, he brought great honor to his family, his community, the Mohawk Nation, and the Audinassini. And he also believed that the children, that to carry the message of peace to all the youngest of school children. So here's another resource that you can go down if you wanted to. And then the Tree of Peace Society. That's the wrong one. That is not the one I wanted to do. Sorry. And then that, and then we're here, and then we're at the end. So I wanted to go over my image up here and talk a little bit about printmaking and some visual art ideas for Indigenous knowledge systems. And so one of the ideas, one thing I used to do, I don't know what grades everyone is with, but one way is if you wanted to do a little monoprint, if you wanted to practice drawing the vegetables, you could work with shape with the beans, and just kind of work with structure, composition. You could work with foreground, middle ground, background. I would, for frugality reasons, would go to the grocery store and get the meat trays, the styrofoam meat trays, and I would cut off the edges, and then I would give them to the students to draw in with a pencil. Then we would paint on it with paint, tempera paint, acrylic, and then we would print it for a monotype. And this really was a great project, art project, and it covered a lot of the standards of understanding other art worlds, the studio habits of art, and reflection, and also just really bringing in the interdisciplinary work of teaching knowledge systems and learning designs. When you do design your learning lesson plan, I encourage you to keep those 5 standards for Indigenous knowledge. And British Columbia, I think British Columbia, the University of British Columbia, and they have a really great big idea and curriculum that I like to look at when I'm designing programs for Indigenous knowledge systems and teaching that in the classroom. And just really knowing that you can pull from all those different places. All right, so let's see. I actually had a little bit of an idea for an art project. And so we have about half an hour to kind of work on that time. And it was kind of an idea where you would work on your own. And I would just play some music and then we would come back and share. And so I am not going to give a lot of guidelines because I like to keep it open and for creative thought. But I would like, if you'd like to take some time right now, and I'm also going to take some time to have a piece of paper and a drawing utensil, and using the contour lines of, actually, I'm going to pull something up. I will pull up an image, and then you can do that or you're not. But what I thought was to kind of do the contour lines of this image or your own image. And inside of the contour lines, you put down some of the ways that you feel Indigenous knowledge systems are already in your teaching habits or studio habits. And taking the Three Sisters Garden, Nutrition and Wellness, the Thanksgiving address, taking all of those things and filling in those that with words. So I'm going to just do a quick example of what I'm talking about, and it's called typography. Look at me, just kind of planning on the fly. So typography micrography is when you do an outline of something and then you put words inside and outside of the image. So I'm just kind of drawing an apple right here, and then I'm filling the image with different words. So you will draw a contour image, and then inside that image, you will write the words that you feel you teach with in your classroom that could apply to Indigenous knowledge systems or Three Sisters Garden or the Thanksgiving address. During that time, there's a video of kind of the, well, I'll just kind of do some music. Let's do some music. And I will put up what I'm talking about on the screen.
Question, Jennifer?
Yes?
So you're asking us just put just words that we would use?
Yeah. So you're, let's see if I have my, so this is a micrography, and it's drawing with words. It's kind of developed in the 9th century, and it was kind of started using very small letters to represent geometric and abstract designs. You can kind of see what I'm saying here. This is an image that was outlined, and then words were filled in to express that image. Here's another one. I've done this with my students a lot with portraits. It's a dynamic lesson. It's super fun. What I do when we do these portraits is we take a picture of them, and then I print it off for them. And usually they then transfer that image onto their final piece, and then they fill it in with words that describe them. And these are some examples. So what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to use the contour image of your rendition of the Three Sisters Garden. And so what does that look like? Well, maybe it's a bean, maybe it's a cornstalk, maybe it's a shape that represents it. What do you want to represent? And then how can you fill that image with words representing what I said before? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. By the way, this is totally on the fly because I have 30 minutes. No, I mean, not really, not on the fly, but I had an idea that I just kind of came together when I did it. And so here we go. I'll put on some music for everybody.
Sometimes your life feels like a broken roller coaster, 1,000 useless moving parts. Sometimes you spend your night too scared of getting closer, hiding out in the backseat of your car. You tell yourself it's raining, The clouds are in your head. You tell yourself it's better to jump before you fall again, before you lose it all again. Look up, do you see the sunlight? Look up, there's flowers in your head. Hold on, 'cause somebody loves you. You know trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring you to your knees. Look up. Mondays aren't always bright. Some days you lose the fight. Life can be beautiful if you let it be. Tomorrow keeps taunting you with all kinds of mysteries. Blank page for your poetry if you let it be. So don't tell yourself it's raining. The clouds are in your head. You tell yourself it's better to jump before you fall again, before you lose it all again. Look up, do you see the sunlight? Look up, there's flowers in your head. Hold on, there's somebody loves you. You know trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring you to your knees. Sometimes your life feels like a broken roller coaster, 1,000 useless moving parts. Look up, do you see the sunlight? Look up, there's flowers in your head. Hold on, 'cause somebody loves you. No trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring it to your knees. Trouble's always gonna be there. Don't let it bring it to your knees. Look up. Just can't see the pouring rain. Feeling your name, feeling your name. I really never felt quite the same since I lost what I had to gain. No one to blame, no one to blame. Seems to me, can't turn back the hands of time. Oh, it seems to me, can't turn back the hands of time. Looking through the window pane, just trying to see through the pouring rain. Feeling feeling I really never felt quite the same since I lost what I had to gain. No one to blame, no one to blame. See what's to me, can't turn back the hand time. Oh, it's easy, can't turn back the hand time.
Okay, just a couple more minutes to finish up your drawing with your micrography words. We'll share for a little bit and then we'll read our ending. So just one more minute or so. Okay, so I'll just share with everybody. And if you want to share yours, you can. If you don't want to turn your screen back on, you don't have to. I'm just going to roll. But I just did, let's see, let me move this light and then we can see better. So I did a bean kind of at the bottom, the cornstalk coming off. The word that I wrote in the middle was collective, because that's just been feeling a lot to me. I wrote baskets, growing, kindness, collaboration. I wrote pieces. I wrote thank you. I wrote love for us. I wrote education, being present, awareness, advocacy, and I can't read that last one at the very top on the leaf, but micrography is a great way to use interdisciplinary work. And also this piece is a great way to do a summative assessment. So formative assessment would have been, you know, just kind of as you gave your students the time, you could walk around and look, and then summative assessment would be this final thing here, the final piece. Becky, do you want to share?
Yeah, I'll share. I didn't do it on paper though. So I'm going to share my
Yay, thank you for bringing in a different medium.
And you were talking about like thinking about putting this into my classroom, and I love this, and I love like I would love to roll corn in printmaking ink and roll it on paper, but I still have questions and I'm still working through personally about cultural appropriation within the art projects that I give students. And there was a big hubble. I didn't do it, but an art teacher at my building did this sombrero project that really hit a nerve and she had to take them all down and it was not appropriate. Um, but I I struggle with the idea of as a historian, we're learning about history and we're learning about culture and we're teaching about culture. But I still, and this is something that maybe we can do together, I still want to learn more about the line of cultural appropriation. And I met a ledger artist, like you were talking about. He did a session in Wyoming when I was at a conference, and he had this beautiful hat on. And it boiled down to the question of, can I have your hat? Like, I wanted his hat. I wanted to wear his hat. And he's like, yes, you can have my hat because it was made by a Native American Indigenous person whom, he's like, my friend made this for me. And yes, Indigenous artists need to sell their work. So, yes, you can wear it. You just can't make it on your own and sell it. But then I question, I'm like, can I just make it and not sell it? But then that's like, well, no, because that's not mine. So I still, I don't know, I still struggle with that area. And the hard part is because I struggle with it, I tend to just be like, okay, here's this idea, but then what are vegetables from your culture, and like then let them dig into their Slavic culture but it's not the rich learning that I want from like, no, let's dig into like this idea. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm a mess about this. Well, it's just it's messy. So I don't know. Do you have any guidance for me?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would do is go back to what's your true intention of having the struggle or having the thought or having all of those things. And going back to that collective, like you want to do the right thing and you want to be inclusive in your conversation, but you can't control how someone else is going to respond and you can't control how someone else is going to take it. So I think what I would say is over time through education, awareness, hearing those stories, speaking in the words of other members of the culture you're expressing, knowing that it's not your words, it's not your saying it, you are holding space for previous previous cultural building, right? Because that's what it is. A culture had time to build and be and work, and we are learning about how that works. And some people believe that's a system to sustain, and some people don't. And whether that culture, where that culture is, the United States is a hard place. We're a melting pot of different cultures that are in another place, a place that was already developed and sustained in one way. So I would suggest three things. Building your education and awareness, listening to other people's stories, and asking for their story. I would make sure that when you go forward with your lesson, that if it is something that is taken wrong, which you couldn't control, that you then change it to meet the needs of the person who is not feeling well about it. So does that mean she had to, your teacher took down the sombreros? Absolutely, because there was a reciprocal feeling. If one person's not doing well, the whole collective's not doing well. And so if that feeling is coming in, then that would be one thing to do. And then the second thing I would do is, or the third, education, awareness. And then once you have that building, then you go out with that to others. with openness and curiosity, knowing that you just have more information to share, but you don't have the answer. And when you do something wrong, you have the grace, you ask for that grace to say that wasn't my intention. My intention was different when I started this lesson. So for example, I did this really cool lesson on spirit animals. And I spent a very long time the first day of talking about the historical belief systems of spirit animals all over the world, not necessarily one culture. Well, one of my native tribal member students was absent that day. So she came the next day, and all she heard were spirit animals, and she was offended. And she went to the administration, and her family went to administration, and they came and they said, that was offensive. And you shouldn't, we believe that you shouldn't teach that. You're not valid, or you're not educationally aware to teach the true historical perspective of that, even though it was global. It wasn't specific. So in honor of that feeling of that student, I didn't teach that again. And I might consider how I teach it in the future. I may just not ever teach that lesson again, because it was taken differently than I intended, and I honored that.
Okay.
So hopefully that helps a little bit. But I mean, I think a lot of times we have the insecurities because we care. And you have those insecurities because you care about how someone else feels. And when that's when you just learn more, so you can approach it more culturally responsive. And, as art teachers and artists and creators, we know the SELs are so combined into our world of teaching. And so we know our intentions are good. We have to learn from our mistakes.
Yep. Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, Anne Ray. Ooh. There's so much movement. You're muted.
I don't even know if you can tell that there are beans and squash and corn in there, but I tried to draw the pole right here. And then using your mind mapping technique that you mentioned. So like just what were the thoughts that came to mind after I got a contour drawing? And so remember that I'm your musician member, but it's just it's wonderful to sit and draw, for 15, 20 minutes. It's very therapeutic, and we know that. So in this whole piece, because it is new to all of us, but the historical aspect is wonderful. And so I was thinking, just for a Thanksgiving meal to introduce this as a menu. That's a pretty safe way to bring it in the history of the meal and have the parents come in and help you make it and just talk about the history of the meal as information, not necessarily as belief. And I think that we've been doing this forever. Although people call it appropriation, I don't think that it is. I mean, it really gave honor. In my opinion, it's all about heart. How are you doing this? You're doing this to give honor. So you have the Thanksgiving meal and you're making a Thanksgiving menu. You can teach everything through food. We know that. And you teach and through art. So not to take all the air out of the room, but I mean, this would be another menu to add to it and the history of that menu. And I think that that would be the way that I would approach it. And kind of in response to what you were saying, Becky, how do we do this without offending? I mean, the intention is not to offend. So you're talking about the red light, green light principle. And I'm an administrator and I get that because the complaints are going to come to the administration office. And I can tell you, they did. I mean, and you're thinking, well, that was a really great lesson, and the parents ready to come down on you and the teacher and everything else. And so, it doesn't matter what you do. You can put up a flag and someone thinks that you're a nationalist. So the American flag, and that has happened to me. So, it doesn't matter what you're teaching. There's always a parent out there who's just angry about something, and your intention is magnanimous and wonderful and historic and pure. And I think we have to approach it that way. I don't know very many teachers in my whole career who on purpose are trying to brainwash or hurt or put down or do something diabolical. And I think that that is the way that I always approached it. And thank God we made it through. 11 years was tough, though. I need you to know teachers are doing great things every day. And there's always somebody out there who is trying to mess it up or find fault with it. And I think that this lesson, like, how could you find fault with this? You put three plants together and you got a perfect meal that you can live on if that's all you have. And I want to do this. Like, I would want to challenge everyone. So then the whole piece about seed time and harvest. If you're in a homeschool or even in a Christian school, you could utilize it that way. There will always be seed time and harvest. And how, somebody plants, somebody sows, and somebody harvests. And in homeschool, they love that. They're all having their own gardens. I had a school where we had a garden. I wish I would have known this. We would have done this every year. I mean, like,
Yeah.
here I am. So that's how I take this teaching that you're giving us. Like, how do we take that into our own experience and make it a wonderful lesson? I would remember this forever. I'm going to remember this forever. I sent the succotash recipe to my husband, who's the cook, and said, let's make this. Let's add this. So that's where your lesson to me came through today. How can I make this a part of my life? What a wonderful thing. Of course,
Yeah.
we would know this. The Native Americans lived off the land without anything.
Well, they had everything. So they had everything actually.
Right, but how did they get the seeds in the first place? See, that's what I would do. How do you get the seeds?
Well, that's when you go back to, if you have that question, that's when you go back to the five,
Right.
based on a millennia of observations.
Right.
You and I don't know where they got the seeds, but over observations of thousands of years, somebody knew. And the
And then
oral
what?
history and that oral tradition will come down. And I think what you said is so pertinent and wonderful and full of information. I want to read the end of the Thanksgiving address. Amber and Alice, do you want to share at all?
I just wanted to say I appreciate this so much. I started with the things I know I was teaching. Oh, I'm blurred.
That's okay. You
I
can explain it to us.
and then I started to like kind of journal in my words of like, oh, and I'm teaching this and maybe I should teach this differently. And these are the things I wanted to do, but yes, the fear of admin or parents does block some things. Because my school it really doesn't do the STI interweaving that they should be doing. Um, so I kind of feel like I hold that container a lot and through art try to do that the best I can. But I appreciate weaving the connections of nutrients and thinking about nutrients and not just knowledge of the mind and the body. Because that definitely connects the SEL. It connects every subject and every
Yeah.
way of knowing, right? And thinking about the systems of Indigenous versus Western versus any specific culture that the student body represents in the school. So I just want to say thank you. And I've studied this topic a lot, but you've given us so much information. I feel like it's going to take me like a month to unpack everything, and I hope that you share your the lesson plan and everything that you shared
Yeah,
with me.
Becky will help me with that. We'll get it on there by the end of the weekend. Give us the weekend. Alice, did you want to share?
Sure. See that? Did the corn with a squash behind. And I just wanted to share that I feel very fortunate to live in the San Juan Island communities where, even though I'm a certified teacher, I work with homeschool groups and small public groups and get to bring my students like to cultural events up here, canoe journeys and gatherings. And so I totally understand all the anxiety and fear that you're bringing up in terms of like being able to teach the way culturally appropriately and in the schools and all that pressure. But I feel fortunate I don't have that pressure. I'm working with families that are so grateful to have me bring their kids out into nature and to these events. And fortunately, they get to learn directly from many elders, and that is such a gift that I get to experience. So, yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I will share. Actually, I don't know if I can do it. I'll put on the thing. My Instagram handle is cultural.collage, and twice a week I do native wisdom for white minds. I do a connection with my artwork, and then an author mentor of mine, Ann Wilson Schaaf, I write down her words and then a reflection of my words. So if you're in here, I can do this. I'm going to put it in the chat. Cultural dot, and that is my Instagram handle for also information. It's dedicated to my artwork, which is dedicated to Indigenous knowledge systems. So there's that. And then let's go ahead and finish and do the ending of our Thanksgiving address, greeting to the natural world, and we were on the plants. So just take a couple minutes to finish. Thank you for staying on a couple minutes after. The plants. Now we turn toward the vast fields of plant life. As far as the eye can see, the plants grow, working many wonders. They sustain many life forms. With our minds gathered together, we give thanks and look forward to seeing plant life for many generations to come. Now our minds are one. The food plants. With one mind, we turn to honor and thank all the food plants we harvest from the garden. Since the beginning of time, the grains, vegetables, beans, and berries have helped the people survive. Many other living things draw strength from them too. We gather all the plant foods together as one and send them a greeting of thanks. Now our minds are one. The medicine herbs. Now we turn to all the medicine herbs of the world. From the beginning, they were instructed to take away sickness. They are always waiting and ready to heal us. We are happy there are still among us those special few who remember how to use these plants for healing. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to the medicines and the keepers of the medicines. Now our minds are one. The animals. We gather our minds together to send greetings and thanks to all the animal life in the world. They have many things to teach us as people. We are honored by them when they give up their lives so we may use their bodies as food for our people. We see them near our homes and in the deep forests. We are glad they are still here, and we hope that will always be so. Now our minds are one. The trees. We now turn our thoughts to the trees. The earth has many families of trees who have their own instructions and uses. Some provide us with shelter and shade, others with fruit, beauty, and other useful things. Many people of the world use a tree as a symbol of peace and strength. With one mind, we greet and thank the tree of life. Now our minds are one. The birds. We put our minds together as one and thank all the birds who move and fly about over our heads. The Creator gave them beautiful songs. Each day they remind us to enjoy and appreciate life. The eagle was chosen to be their leader. To all the birds, from the smallest to the largest, we send our joyful greetings and thanks. Now our minds are one. The four winds. We are thankful to the powers we know as the four winds. We hear their voices in the moving air as they refresh us and purify the air we breathe. They help us to bring the change of seasons. From the four directions they come, bringing us messages and giving us strength. With one mind, we send our greetings and thanks to the four winds. Now our minds are one. The thunderers. Now we turn the west where our grandfathers, the thunder beings, live. With lightning and thundering voices, they bring with them the water that renews life. We are thankful that they keep those evil things made by Okwesers underground. We bring our mind together as one to send greetings and thanks to our grandfathers, the thunderers. Now our minds are one. We now send greetings and thanks to our eldest brother, the sun. Each day, without fail, he travels the sky from east to west, bringing the light of a new day. He is the source of all the fires of life. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to our brother, the sun. Now our minds are one. We put our minds together to give thanks to our oldest grandmother, the moon, who lights the nighttime sky. She is the leader of women all over the world, and she governs the movement of the ocean tides. By her changing face, we measure time, and it is the moon who watches over the arrival of children here on earth. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to our grandmother, the moon. Now our minds are one. The stars. We give thanks to the stars who are spread across the sky like jewelry. We see them in the night, helping the moon to light the darkness and bringing dew to the gardens and growing things. When we travel at night, they guide us home. With our minds gathered together as one, we send greetings and thanks to the stars. Now our minds are one. We gather our minds to greet and thank the enlightened teachers who have come to help throughout the ages. When we forget how to live in harmony, they remind us of the way we were instructed to live as people. With one mind, we send greetings and thanks to these caring teachers. Now our minds are one. The Creator. Now we turn our thoughts to the Creator, our Great Spirit, and send greetings and thanks for all the gifts of creation. Everything we need to live a good life is here on this Mother Earth. For all the love that is still around us, we gather our minds together as one and send our choicest words of greeting and thanks to the Creator. And now our minds are one. And I am going to stop sharing my screen and...
You aren't sharing your screen.
Okay, good. I couldn't find it. That was funny.
Fine.
And so that is the end. Thank you for letting me finish with the giving thanks prayer in the words of Jake Swamp and the Adonanasi Nation. And I appreciate and honor you all being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Great, great, great workshop. I loved it. And we have so much to share next week before our kids and even our family members. Like I love what you just read. It was amazing. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So share it with others. And also, I think the one thing that I did want to share really quick is that we do have the gift of time, right? Like if it didn't work out this Thanksgiving and you don't have a chance and it needs to start next, or you need to work
Right.
with your admin to get a book to
Yeah.
every classroom, just know that it's okay if it's not right now or next week. It's
That's
okay
right.
if it's next year. It's okay if you stay resilient and
That's
fight
right.
for that. So yeah, thanks for sharing that giving of thanks to next week if you have an opportunity.
I
yes.
just wanted to say something to what you were saying, Jennifer, and what everybody else said. Please don't be afraid. We don't need to be afraid of the truth. But it is good to clear things that you feel are controversial, in your heart with your admin, and then invite them to come to the meal. And I think it's really true. We don't have to fit this in now, but it is now we know information is power every time we
Yeah.
get knowledge. So thank you for the knowledge and the information.
Yeah.
Because now our lives are changed because we have more information. And now this will it spurs us on into a new direction, or maybe a direction we hadn't thought. But when we're afraid, our efficacy is frozen. And we are artists. We don't need to be afraid. We can teach everything through the arts. You can teach the recipe just with the arts.
Just to clarify, I'm not afraid of admin or parents. I just want to honor the culture
Yes.
in the way that they want to be honored. And I think this is
Yes.
a well thought out, very researched way
Yes.
of presenting. So I do like I feel confident in this. So thank you
Yes.
for that. And that's what we need to be working towards. And so thank you.
Yeah, and also just really quick, building that community in this. So if you have a question, or if you want to share something or share back and forth, we can use the WAEA community for that, and reach out on the website.
And we are working in our Jedi committee this year, like you said at the beginning, to be more present in our Indigenous respect throughout our organization. So thank you for bringing that to the forefront for all of us as well. Just
Yeah.
for time's sake, Anne Renee, I'm going to say the clock hour form is in the chat box if you need it. It is the new one for this year. If you're looking for any old clock hours, just put them in as other. And we still honor clock hours from last year. This is just the new form. So, and Alice, I'm willing to email it to you as well. You got it? Okay, good. Perfect. And I will hand it back over to Anne Renee and Jennifer, and you can stay on as long as you want.
Yeah. Okay,
I have a
great. Thanks,
question.
everybody. Yeah.
I loved Alice's Three Sisters seed pack. She doesn't remember where she got it, but if WAEA could get that seed pack, wouldn't that be fun for like in our gift box bag next year? Or also, but if you can find out where, I mean, I was just thinking I would give that seed pack out everywhere I go. I put packets at church. I put packets with the little groups that I go to just as a fun giveaway. So
Yeah,
I would
I
love to
love that.
know,
Yeah.
that is my takeaway from this, to plant the seed. I mean, it has a spiritual meaning for me. I want to plant this seed. And if you can find that, find out where to send that, send it to me. I'm going to buy up a storm of them.
I'm looking
I'm just
online right now.
noticing that
And there's lots of places. It looks like Three Sisters seed assortment. But
I
they're
mean,
not as cool as that. So that
yeah,
might be an idea to do. I know you're not in the classroom anymore, but an idea to have your students design a Three
yes,
Sisters seed packet front.
right.
And then
Yes, I just wanted to say you could make a classroom-based performance assessment out of it. But more
yes,
than
you
that,
could.
everything that you were saying, you were talking about perspective, you were talking about contour, you were talking about line, you were talking about shape, you were talking about, you could almost take every single one of the classroom-based performance assessments and plunk this message into it with, to teach those things through this lens, which is how they were
Yeah,
designed. And the whole time you were presenting, I was thinking, oh my gosh, clear through I mean, like everything. Oh, you could do this for a whole year or whatever you were doing. I was trying. So just bravo. Anyway, that's my mind. My
so
mind was
Saint,
sparking.
yay, that's good. Saint Lebray is in Montana on the east side, and they are accredited with our. Is that Lebray, Saint Lebray in Montana? It's on Havre. Does it say it on the back?
it says
Alice,
Ashland, Montana.
Ashland. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I know that school. I've been there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so. And they got accredited. Um, they're a green light. That's a green light admin. And I know him or when he was, but that's a really cool connection for me. Thank you,
Okay.
Alice.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
asking, Anne Renee, because that just warms my heart to know that these are from Saint Lebray. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Okay.
send us the link where we can get them if you can. For those of us that just right now are swamped with everything, we just got out of the storm, so we just got power.
Yeah.
But anyway, this really pulled me
Okay.
out of my slump, and my husband and I are going to plant this garden ourselves, but I want to use it with Sunday school. I want to use it in my art workshops. I'm getting ready to do an early childhood education workshop, and I wish I had it to just give to all of the preschool teachers. They could do this because they make food. And we also have a Montessori teacher. That's one of the things. They do recipes and cooking. Anyway, this is how my mind was sparking, but also with adults. Like we're talking with adults right now about all of their health issues, older people who have dementia. If they're eating these three things, this is, this, they can live if they don't want to eat meat anymore, or even the vegetarians in our life. And so but I'm getting ready to go to a big Thanksgiving dinner. I'm going to see if I can get this to just give everybody this little gift. Like,
Great. Thank
I don't know
you.
where I can
This
get
is
it. I mean, this is what you did for me. So
Yeah.
this
thank
is
you.
great. I love it. That's what
New
I want to
something-
be.
New learning for an old lady. It's pretty good. God bless you
One
folks.
person. Well,
Happy
yeah.
Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you. We have power.
Wait,
No trees on our house. Lots of
don't
trees
leave yet.
down.
Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. I want to say one person may not be able to change the world, but you can change the world for one person. So thank you for letting me do that for you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye, Alice. Thank you. Bye, Becky.
Bye. You did great.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to stop the recording.